Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Wednesday, the Leading Change episode. This week we have with us Gert Brits. Hey Gert, welcome back.
Hi.
So Gert, on the Leading Change episode, which is today, we talk about how us Scrum Masters, Agile Coaches, we are continuously dealing with change. And because of that, we need to kind of build our toolbox for change. So today we would like to hear a story from you of a change process you were involved with. And as you go through that, like what happened over time, highlight for us the tools, the tips, the tricks, the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
Okay. So when I was working in a company named Spotify, when I was living in Sweden, we had quite a big struggle in my tribe or department around OKRs. The whole process of setting out quarterly goals with key results that you want to try and score and trying to achieve these objectives. So this was spread across 9 teams. 5 of them were in the US and 4 of them were in Sweden. And I saw and felt and was getting a lot of feedback from people that this process was too long. It wasn't engaging or involving people's opinions. Teams felt like they would go to the session and leave with a shopping list that they had no input to actually sway or change the direction that we were going or change the products we were working on. So all in all, it was quite demotivating, quite taxing on energy, quite stressful, the preparation and things going into it as well. So I started doing a bunch of one-on-ones with a large group of people, engineers, testers, UX designers, all the way up to directors. And I gathered their challenges and the problems and the things that they felt, quite a few of them had solutions. So the things that they felt could be changed on how this entire process works. After doing this, I got some really good feedback. I spotted a few patterns in it, that it was too many people, it was too long. We didn't get a say in what was being done or not. And it sparked some thinking on how we can iterate this process. So I took this to the directors of the department and I shared this feedback with them. And I said, I want to go away, think about something that we can change, bring you the initial idea. It'll be a draft idea, but I want to bring you an idea, think about it, change it, and tweak it. And that's something that I very much learned at that company is create an idea, share it with an audience and get some feedback on the idea. And that helped me a lot in forming this because it helped increase the amount of engagement going through these sessions. So there was a bit of pre-work. I changed the process of OKRs a bit, and I actually introduced a step, which sounds counterintuitive because usually introducing steps makes it more tricky. But what a lot of people said they were struggling with was it was so structured and so formatted they didn't know how to get their ideas into what an objective is. They didn't know how to write a sentence to fit a key result structure and still actually get the idea across. So I introduced something called impact, and it was a step between objectives and key results. So the directors would come in and say, these are the things that our customers want. These are the things our company wants. These are the objectives we're thinking of. Do those make sense or not? And we'd have a Q&A session. And then after that, we'd have the impact session. And in the impact session, I would break the department up into groups, not with their team specifically, because I wanted them to be exposed to each other's ideas and thoughts. And I would split them up and I would get them to come up with what we called impact. And an impact was any way that you think you can solve this objective. And it could be like turn off all the servers in location X or whatever, like anything anyone thought of or suggested was added onto a list of impacts. We didn't even worry about key results. That happened in the last 30 minutes of these sessions. The focus was on what is it as a department we can do to achieve those objectives. We put all of those into a Google form with a little bit of discussion so that everyone could understand each individual impact. And then everyone in the department voted on those. Everyone got a set amount of votes. Directors got the same amount as the grads. It was completely even. and you got 1 vote per impact, so you couldn't stack your votes on something. And using this, we managed to map out the top 3 or 4 impacts for each objective. And this is something that everybody had an opportunity to say, this is how I think we can achieve that, which I saw a very big change in the mindset of people as we were doing this, because I could change what my department was doing. And this was massive. We then broke out into an open space forum with 4 areas in the room, and we put the top 3 or the top 4 of each of these objectives in a corner, and people had the opportunity to move around and go and debate or deep dive or discuss these top 3s and suggest possible ways, possible actions, or possible key results of what they would need to do to achieve this impact to then solve the objective. So it was a bit of a longer process, but I think because everyone at any point in time could influence or change it, it very much increased the amount of engagement and involvement.
So that is kind of one of the aspects that also Jason Little talks about in the Lean Change Management book, which is this aspect of co-creation, right?
Yes.
And the cool part of the story that you just told is that we start from the idea that like when we introduce something like OKR, then we need to follow a certain process and we need to have a certain structure, right? And that was one of the feedbacks that you got. Okay, we're following the process, but basically this means I get nothing done because I have to listen to what others have. And then there's this very strict structure. I don't know how to phrase my thoughts into that structure.
Exactly.
And I guess it felt a little bit like disengaging in the sense of, you said I can't change how the department works, but maybe it's even more. Maybe it's even like I don't get to be listened to. Like I don't feel heard by the other people, right? Like they want me to put my ideas into this format, which I don't understand. And by the way, that's one tip out there is objectives and key results is a decomposition tool.
Yes.
So you can use whatever format you want. It doesn't really matter as long as they are linked. Right,
Exactly.
like the key R's are linked to the objectives. But when we try to apply the process without thinking about the people, we apply the process on people instead of bringing people to the process, right?
Exactly.
And I think that your story is a great example of this application of the co-creation idea of Lean Change Management in how to get a specific process to work for the people instead of the people working for the process.
Very much so. I mean, people definitely felt like the first objective, that first OKR session I went to, we used to call them big room plannings, where you get like 200 or 300 people in a room. You'd see people like sitting on their phone or leaving work early or things. You could see like this massive drain. If there was like a visualization of it, it would be this big dark gray rain cloud just like dripping and just making it unpleasant. And that's very much changed to people moving between conversations, having a conversation. I've had enough of this one. I'm going to go find something interesting somewhere else. At the individual level, at the team level, at the department level, it was a night and day shift because people were being listened to. Anyone could challenge anything. The directors I worked with, because I did some pre-work with them and with the engineering managers and the product managers, they had the opinion, at the end of the day, if the department doesn't pick the impacts that I think are the most important ones, that's fine. I need to better influence them next time. I need to better explain what I need, or I need to be more open. So they were willing to put everything on the table and the group solves it. And that was extremely powerful. And they actually mentioned that. And it was a wonderful process. So getting that buy-in in the beginning is quite important. Sharing your ideas with all the influential stakeholders that you're going to try and pull in to help you change these things or make these changes. Because if I ran on my own doing this, it might change like a Word document somewhere, but it probably wouldn't have had this big of a change.
Absolutely. Bringing people on board means everybody, right? Like everybody, whether it is the managers, the organizational leaders, the development teams, everybody. Thank you for sharing that story, Gert.
It's a pleasure.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, On Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role, we'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.